Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Finding Your Voice. Whatever that lane is for you, I hope that one of my guests will absolutely speak to where you are. And I know today's guest is going to bless your heart because she blessed mine. And wait until you hear about what she has accomplished, what she did, and her journey to get to this point. So please welcome my guest, Kevette Burwell. Please introduce yourself to the audience, Kevette.
Hello, everyone. My name is Kevette Burwell, and I am a native Washingtonian, born and raised right here in the Washington,
Oh,
D.C.
wow.
Area. Grew up in the outskirts of Washington, D.C., Prince George's County, Maryland, but was able and afforded the opportunity to go to the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, where I began to develop and hone in on my vocal music gifts that the Lord has blessed me with. I then moved on from the Duke Ellington School of the Arts to go to the University of Maryland, still with a full scholarship for vocal music under Carmen Balthrop, and was able to really continue to develop my skills. I ended up actually dropping out of college just because I was young and dumb at the same time. but but later on in life, I did finish my degree, my undergraduate, and I got two master's degrees. But along the way, I continued to sing. That never left me. That never left even my thought process to not sing at all. I began to sing in a group called the Keith Lee Singers, and where one of my best friends I met at the University of Maryland. Many may be familiar with her, Marette Brown Clark. We used to sing in a group together called the Keith Lee Singers. And then when Marette went out on her own, I continued to sing with her. To this day, I still sing with her. I've had the experience to meet a lot of people and to sing with a lot of people and to be on a lot of platforms of singing. And I'm just continuing that journey. I'm looking forward to what God has in store for me. And I told my producer, I'm here for all of it. Everything that God has
Wow.
for me, I am here for all of it.
Well, I just happened to glance at something on your bio, and I just want to mention it to you. How was it like to sing at the White House? Please tell us all about that.
So, as part of my experience with the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, the teachers there were all in the arts, in the industry, and so they knew a lot of people.
Hmm.
And my theory teacher took a bunch of us to go audition. I really didn't know even what I was auditioning for,
Wow.
but he took us on this audition, and he just asked me to sing a song, and I sang one of my very favorite songs by Vanessa Bell Armstrong, "He Looked Beyond My Faults."
Oh,
And
yes.
the producer of the show chose me to be the team for that particular year for what is called In Performance at the White House. And so they would do these programs and they would feature a young person each year. And in that year, I was the featured young person. It was an amazing experience. I had the opportunity to meet Leontine Price and
Wow.
the opportunity to sing on the platform with the Richard Smallwood Singers and Howard University Gospel Choir and Shiloh
Wow.
choir. It was held at the Shiloh Baptist Church in Washington,
Hmm.
D.C.,
Hmm.
but there were so many dignitaries and celebrities there. It was just an amazing experience. And there's actually a scene, you can actually find it on YouTube now. There's the whole program is on YouTube now, and there's a scene where Nancy Reagan is dancing beside me, and so it was
Wow.
a great experience. I was 16 years old. It was an
Wow.
amazing experience.
Wow. That must have really it motivated you at that moment. Like, wait a minute, I am where I'm supposed to be.
Right, exactly. I am always trying the best I can, and even in that moment, to be led of God and what I should
Yeah.
be doing.
Hmm.
And I believe, God orchestrates and orders our steps in
Yes.
many different ways. And that in that regard, he opened up that door for me.
Wow, that's beautiful. I love what you said earlier, and I'm going to get into my my plan questions, but I love what you said earlier that you stopped going to school while you when you were young, and then you made the decision to go back. I hope the audience heard that part, because
Yes, ma'am.
sometimes that happens to all of us. So
Mm-hmm.
when I got ready to retire, all of the things that I did as a deputy administrator in state government, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, yes, I spoke to groups. I stood before audience, 100
Mm-hmm.
employers, all of those things that I used to do. I developed coaching and training. I developed
Mm-hmm.
programs,
Wow.
and I
Wow.
was like a continuous improvement guru. When I looked at something, I wanted to look at how we can improve it and
Mm-hmm.
shorten the time, that kind of thing. But
Mm-hmm.
when I retired in 2012, I thought, okay, let me just wrap up and package all of these gifts and talents and put it in a box called
Right.
retired. But
Right.
God said, no, you're not.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
I have
here I am
else for
today
you.
with a
Yes.
podcast called
Yes.
Finding Your Voice, because
Yes,
I
ma'am.
remember as a writer in the beginning, I didn't know about the genre I needed to write about. So I had to read a
Mm-hmm.
lot of how to books and things
Wow.
of that
Wow.
nature. That
Mm-hmm.
was part of finding my voice. I spoke with the government voice. But what
Right.
was it
Right.
that Dr. Velma wanted to say? What was
Mm-hmm.
it that
That's
God
right.
was giving me to do? So
Mm-hmm.
I just want you to know that I had a similar journey, and look at what God has done, because you didn't give up.
No,
You
ma'am.
went back and took
Uh,
up the charge. I'm
yes,
telling you, it comes at a cost. And sometimes
it
we have
does.
to recognize that. And I'm so excited for you and for the
Yeah.
audience to hear about your journey.
Yeah.
So
As
let me ask
you
you
know,
this
good.
question.
Sorry.
Some people look at you, and we know that you have an album and a song coming out soon. So congratulations. We're
Thank
going to
you.
all look forward to that. And at the end, you
Thank
can let the
you.
audience know how to stay in touch with you. So in the event it releases, when it does release, they can get a copy to support you. But
Yes, ma'am.
some will look at that and say, oh, yeah, you dropped out of school, you went back. And they might look at you and say, wow, it looks like she just walked right into the studio and recorded. That was your journey. They're looking at you like success, ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
And but it wasn't not always it wasn't always easy, and may not always have been simple. But
Right.
what were some of the struggles or obstacles that you can share with the audience, so that you can show them what you did to move forward or to overcome them, so that they can remember what you did and will
Yes.
do the same thing?
So yeah, it absolutely was not an easy journey at all. I need to go back to being married. First of all, I was
Hmm.
married. I married young. I had, I was about 23 when I got married, 24 when I got married. And my husband was a musician, and my husband was also like a minister of music in church. So you would think that it would be easy. Oh, my husband's a musician. He can write for me. We can go record. We can do, we can just make this a thing. Like, when I had to go out and sing, he would play for me. And that's not, an issue. But the journey in that regard was difficult in that my husband always thought that my voice was difficult to write for. Now I could
Oh,
sing and I could sing, according to him, other people's songs, but for me to go in and record a whole project, he just felt like it's hard. I got to find somebody that can write for your voice. And we tried a few times
hmm,
and it just didn't work out. It didn't
hmm.
work out at all. And so I was comfortable just singing in the background, just sitting in the background.
Oh,
I
yes.
mentioned singing, in the background with Marette. I also used to sing with William Beckton and Friends,
Hmm.
so traveling with that group, and Stephen Hurd singing with
Hmm.
him. And so I was doing a whole lot of that. And then I thought for a while that my calling was to help other people's ministries.
Right,
And
right.
so I was comfortable just doing that.
Hmm.
Then in 2019, I did a concert called Songs from the Heart. And what I tried to do was to pull together voices of all female voices that I figured had amazing gifts to
Hmm.
sing, but they weren't the known singers in the area. So
Hmm.
I wanted to
Hmm.
pull them together and showcase them. And my son was my musical director. My husband played the organ.
Hmm.
And that was in October 2019. And the
Uh-huh.
concert was amazing.
Hmm.
And so that was October 5th, the beginning of October. And October 24th, my husband passed away.
Oh, wow.
A few a few weeks later, he was gone. And so I kind of set that concert because I was going to do a multiple concerts around around the theme of Songs from the Heart.
Right.
Now, Songs from the Heart, the initial concert, my concept was um, just songs that I knew that pulled on people's heartstrings.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a gospel concert. So we did songs like Oh How I Love Jesus, Sean Pace Rose's version.
Uh-huh.
We did songs like Encourage Yourself, Donald Lawrence. So I
Yes.
felt like these songs would pull on people's heartstrings. So I called it Songs from the Heart. And so my thought process was to do a series of these concerts. But then after my
Hmm.
husband passed away, I just put it on the back burner.
Yeah.
Then a friend of mine, we were sitting in my kitchen, and she's a singer also, and we were just talking, and both of us, we love R&B, old school R&B music. And so
Uh-huh.
it was like she had done a showcase on Phyllis Hyman music.
Uh-huh.
And then she said, we should do a showcase. And I said, maybe we should do the emotions, because I love the emotions. And so she said, yes, let's do the emotions. And then I said, we should add the Jones Girls. So we got another young lady together, and we did a whole showcase of the Jones Girls and the emotions. Well, that young lady introduced me to one of her good friends. His name is Robert Jojo Hill. He's out of
Hmm.
Nashville, and he's
Hmm.
a producer. And
Hmm.
I had been writing music after my husband died. I had started writing. Um, you know, writing is therapeutic for me. Walking was therapeutic for me after he passed away, and so I
Yeah.
began to write. And just I had bought myself a microphone and some earphones, and I started recording me singing some songs. And a friend of mine out of California, he had sent me some tracks to write to. So I was writing um, to these tracks. Now, mind you, this is 5 years ago.
Right.
And so as it had been a long journey to that point of even me, um, even getting into the concept. Of course, I was writing, but I never thought about writing and singing what I was writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was just writing. So I began to
Right.
write songs and put it to my friend's music, and I was recording it up in my bedroom. My son had put a little studio in my basement, but that was his thing. And I just every now and then would be like, Trey, how do I do this? How do I record this? How do I do this? So
Oh.
the young lady, my friend, she introduced me to JoJo, and I had sent him a few tracks that I had recorded,
Uh-huh.
and I want to record, and we worked out all the details and everything, and we went and I did the very first song, and I was only supposed to record 2 songs with him, and I did the first song. He said, "You've got to do a whole project," and I said, "Now that sounds good, but I don't know how much that's going to cost me," you know. And so it's been a journey. It's not, I look at things like God's timing is not my timing. As
Yes.
much as I wanted to do it years ago, this is when God appointed for me to do it. And
Right.
so, I went through, again, multiple producers who it didn't work out for me. And then again, like I said, I was content to just sing in the background, but that's not what God said. God said,
Right.
now
Right.
this is the time I need for you to step out. And I really had to step out on faith because, when you are so used to um, being in the background, living in the background, not
Don't
that
say that.
not that I couldn't be in upfront. I was
Mm-hmm.
comfortable being in the background. Now, singing in the choir at church, they would pull me to do solos all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I was okay with that. But to be out there like as an artist myself, um, I was just like, I don't know if I'm, really ready for that. But
Mm-hmm.
that's but God said something different. And I love the fact that my friend Tamika introduced me to JoJo. And JoJo is an amazing producer. He's done some amazing things with Juanita Bynum. He has
Mm-hmm.
some tracks. He did um, Gospel Goes to the Opera or Classical or something like that. He's
Uh-huh.
done so many major things, and he took the time to work with me.
Wow.
He's a vocalist himself, an amazing writer himself. And as I said, I had just sent him a couple of songs that I had written that I had, put together in my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the songs that I had done, um, I said, I want to do this on my project. When we decided I was going to do a full project, I want to do this particular song on my project. But when I sent it to him, he's like, yeah, I don't really like that production. Well, and I tell you, he rearranged it and made it. He kept the integrity of what I was singing, but the
Yeah.
music and everything,
Right.
he made it such an amazing song.
Wow.
And then I was like, okay, and I have these lyrics that, me writing the lyrics. I have these lyrics, so I want to put this on the project. And when he sent the song back with the single, which is "I Will Trust You," I
Mm-hmm.
was floored.
Wow.
Oh my goodness. When I write, I kind of write in song form because there's a verse, there's a chorus, there's a bridge, then
Mm-hmm.
the chorus. I write like that, but I never thought to hear it the way it
Yeah.
is, the
Yeah.
way
That's
he has produced it. Um,
wow.
been such an amazing journey. So yeah, I think you just have to kind of go through your process, whatever that process is, because whatever God has for you, it is absolutely
Mm-hmm.
for you. And
Mm-hmm.
he will take you through whatever process you need to go through to get to where he needs for you to be.
Wow.
And for whatever reason, I had to um, lose my husband and my son in order for me to get to where I was writing and putting things together for a project. All of it,
Well,
is working together for my good. And that's how I kind of had to look at life.
absolutely. Absolutely.
After all of that, I had to be like, okay, God, I know it's working all for my good. Some kind of way it's working for my good.
It really is.
I
It
can't
really
see
is.
it right now, but I know it's
Mm-hmm.
working for my good.
Wow. That's magnificent. But let me tell you something. Your husband and your son are celebrating with you. According to Hebrews 12 and 1, we are
Hmm.
surrounded by such a
A
great cloud
great
of
cloud of
witnesses.
witnesses.
You better
Yeah,
know that every time you get up, you haven't lost anything. When you lose
yeah,
something, you don't know where it is.
right.
We
No,
know where they
I
are.
know exactly where they are.
And
Yes.
so I want you to be encouraged because that encouraged me when God pointed that scripture out to me. I said, man, I wish my mom was here to see this. I wish my
Hmm.
mom was here. He said, your mom is there. Look,
Wow.
and gave me that scripture. They are cheering and celebrating you.
Yes.
And you
Yes.
envision that every time you get out there because that's a fact. And
Yes. Yes.
I'm grateful
Thank
for what you
you.
said because when I write, I get melodies first.
Mm.
And so
Okay.
the melody is in my head because I remember my husband is more of a music person.
Hmm.
When I met him, I've heard more genres than I ever heard because my
Right.
mother wouldn't allow nothing but gospel in the house.
Right.
So,
Hmm.
and of course, growing up with the singing father, I only heard quartets. So, it took me a
Right.
while to get used to female singing. Yeah, they're okay, but I like the men, and I like that lead guitar.
Right. Right.
But I thought that was amazing what you said about your journey because it made me remember my journey as well. It's just a
Hmm.
beautiful story what you have to share, and I hope someone hears what you have to say and know
Yes,
that
ma'am.
they can't give up because if this is where God is leading you, you're going to have to go. You're going to have to do it.
Yes.
So
He
I
will get you
appreciate
there.
that, and kudos to California. That's where I live. So you reached out from the East Coast to the West Coast. So
Yeah. It's
and there,
actually, he went to Duke Ellington with me.
look
He,
at that.
he went to Duke Ellington.
Wow.
He was
So
actually my high school sweetheart.
so you had no idea that the producer was in your midst years later that will help you produce this album.
Well, so that's somebody different. The person who actually sent me some tracks to write to, that's the person that went to Duke Ellington with me. But what's
Oh,
interesting, the guy, Jojo, who produced the project,
uh-huh.
for a minute, I went to Central State University in
Uh-huh.
Ohio. He
Mhm.
actually went to Central State. So that
From the
it's
West Coast?
all kind of coming full circle. I don't He probably was there
Wow.
a couple of years after I left, but we were talking one day, I was in the studio and he mentioned Central State and I said, I went to Central State. And I
Wow.
mentioned a friend of mine who went there and he was like, that's my frat brother. So it's just kind of amazing how small the world actually is.
Yeah, when you pause to look, because
Yeah,
you
when you pause
realize
to look.
there are
Yeah.
people whose paths you've crossed. And
Hmm.
I say that sometimes even in my writing career, that you never know why a person crossed paths with you.
Right.
Pay
Right.
attention. I said, because God, you're doing this, not me. You
Right.
caused us to cross paths. So what is the purpose of that? I
Yes.
always pay attention. So I'm glad that you shared that, because that's something for the audience to know. You have no idea who you've already met that will
Yes.
be a part of that journey. So
That will
I
help.
appreciate that.
Yes. Hmm.
Well, now tell us this, Kivette, what can you suggest to others who may be thinking about getting into singing,
Hmm.
and they're not sure about the path. They're not sure where to go, what steps. Now, you did go to school and you did do the work. Some
Hmm.
people
Yeah.
think that it's supposed to be handed to them. Some people don't
Right.
feel like they have to do, but there's work. I love that you brought out the fact that there's certain elements of singing you have to be familiar with.
Hmm.
Now, you mentioned something I wasn't familiar with. You talked about, trying to think of what you said when you were in college. You were talking about a music, not the genre. It was something else you said, because I wouldn't know what theory was.
And
It
that's
theory?
theory. Yeah.
That's what it was. It was theory. See, people don't understand that
Hmm.
those are elements you need to be familiar with. So you
Yes.
can't shortcut this thing. So, what would you say to the person who's looking to achieve or accomplish a similar goal? Suggestions that they need to do
Hmm.
in terms of the path that they're unsure about.
So one of the things that I would suggest is to invest in your gift.
Hmm.
So investing in your gift, one of the things I used to do prior to my husband passing, I used to do voice lessons. So I used to give voice lessons. And one of the things I would say to those coming to me for voice lesson is you are investing in you. You're investing in your gift. You're investing in developing your gift. So I would suggest to people, first of all, you have to develop your gift. You're not just going to jump on the scene, so to
Yep.
speak, and not um, not invest in yourself and not have what's the word, a good product, because you don't want it. Some people now, don't get me wrong, some people naturally are gifted to do certain things.
Hmm.
And if I go back through my journey a little bit, I can say that I was naturally gifted to sing. When I got to the Duke Ellington School of the Arts, I had no idea that I could sing classical music.
Hmm.
Their process of teaching you singing was through the classical process, the classical training. And I had no idea I could sing classical music.
Wow.
And when I got there and was able to do it and do it well, I was thinking to myself, this, I have to look at it as this being a natural gift for me. But
Hmm.
even though it's a my natural gift, I still have to train it. I
Yeah.
still have to invest in it. I still have to make sure I'm taking care of my voice properly. I
Hmm.
want to make sure that I'm not taking the gift and that God has given me and burying it. I want to make sure God gets a return on his
Yeah.
investment
That's
in
right.
me. And so I would suggest to people, if you are interested in music or singing and you know that it's something that is burning in you, you'll know if it's something you're supposed to do. Then you
Wow.
have to invest in it.
That's
Invest
right.
in it. And then investing knowing the business aspect of it. Singing is one thing. Getting up to sing in front of people, that's a whole another thing. But you have to also know the business behind all of that. I liken it to, when my husband passed, it was devastating for me and my children and my family.
Hmm.
But then I had to get to the business of, laying him to rest. That's a
Yeah.
whole that
Another.
was a
Yeah.
whole
Yes.
another thing about,
Yes.
who do you use? Where do you bury him? What do you, it's just a whole nother thing. So I would suggest not just um, investing in your gift. Absolutely, that's the first thing I would suggest to people. Invest in your gift, but you also need to know the business side of it as well.
That's true. That is true. That applies to writing as well. I took my
Mhm.
time, 6 years for the first book, because I took
Wow.
my time to read some how-to books to understand
Right.
the genre that I was attempting to write, there are rules for them. Then when I
Mm-hmm.
switched from nonfiction to fiction, different
Mm-hmm.
rules for that.
Right.
Show,
Mm-hmm.
don't tell. That's not the fiction rule. Show, don't tell. So you had
Wow.
to practice doing that. So
Mm-hmm.
you're right on point with what you said, and that would apply to almost anything that you've been
Anything.
given to do. Make sure you
Yes.
understand it fully, whether it's college or how-to books, whatever
Right.
you need to
Right. Whatever
do.
you need to do. I mean, these
I
days
loved
you
it.
really teach yourself go online and teach yourself stuff. And so all of the, I was at the Duke Ellington School of the Arts graduation of some probably about 6 or 7 years ago.
Mhm.
And Dave Chappelle, who's a graduate of the
Yeah.
school, he was speaking at the graduation. And the one thing he said that rung out to me
Hmm.
was, this is the age where our kids have too the um, access to too much information,
Yeah.
entirely too much information. And so when I say you can go online and find anything, you can literally go
Yeah.
online and
Yeah.
teach yourself anything, because everything is at your
It's out
fingertips.
there. Yeah. No excuse, right?
No
Even
excuse.
for those of us with cobwebs,
No excuse. Everybody
no
can do
excuse, huh?
it.
Well, I'm going to ask you this last question, and it is about, in my book series, I write about godly dating for marriage. Because I
Mm,
talk about the fact that we practice a high school dating method as adults when we should be using a date for marriage strategy, which is what God provides us in His Word. He never talks
mhm.
about dating and
Right.
boyfriend. You won't find the words boyfriend, girlfriend
Boyfriend.
in there.
Right.
So I
Right.
wrote a series. I thought it was going to be one novel. It turned out to be a series in fiction.
Wow.
The catch. One is
Hmm.
the wrong catch. One is the catch no one wants. I mean, it's
Hmm.
5 books now. So
Wow.
I want in there the main character is a pastor, Pastor
Hmm.
Grayson, and he talks about the fact that the family dynamics have changed over the years. Not every home have both a mother and father, and
Right.
not every home has a father who understands his role when
Right.
addressing guys coming to see his daughter, that kind of thing. So he
Hmm.
recommends having a wise counsel, which is pretty
Hmm.
much what we all want. Some people
Hmm.
refer to it as inner circle, a
Right.
tribe,
Hmm.
that close knit group that will help to vet this person if you're dating, but also
Hmm.
depending on what your gifting and calling is, that's also the group that can help you in making decisions. What about
Hmm.
this? You can bounce ideas off of them
Hmm.
and they will
Absolutely.
tell you the truth. So,
Hmm.
based on the wise counsel, Kivette, you're the wise counsel today.
Yes, ma'am.
Someone looking to move into singing as their career, as someone a part of their wise counsel, what would you offer them in terms of wisdom that they can take from this conversation today and know that when this conversation ends, this wisdom will always remain with? What
Hmm.
wisdom would you like to share with them?
This is one thing that there's really kind of two scriptures that I hang my hat on.
Hmm.
And the first one I mentioned earlier, it may have been when we were talking earlier, but the first one is Romans 8:28.
Hmm.
And that is that all things work together for good for those who love the Lord and are the called according to his purpose. And so I kind of hang my hat on that. But the second one is Proverbs 3:5. Trust in the Lord with all of your heart and lean not to your own understanding, but
Yeah,
in all your ways
that's right.
acknowledge him, and he will direct your path. And so that's the wisdom I would leave.
Yeah,
Acknowledge God in everything that you're doing so that he can lead you, so that he can guide you, so that he can direct your path. And
hmm,
then he won't steer you wrong.
right.
Yeah, and I agree that you need people around you that's going to tell you the truth and that's going to be honest with you
Hmm.
about the things that you are getting ready to get into.
Yeah,
If you are, following the path of trying to sing and become an artist, you need good people around you.
yeah.
Um, and I would say you need godly people around you. The one thing, when my son was getting into the music industry, I said to my husband, you need to be with him
Yeah,
at all times. I don't want him out in the industry just random with random people. I need you as his father, because you're gonna make sure everything that's done is gonna be for his
yeah,
best interest, and you're gonna protect him. And so you do need people around you who are going to be um, um, the truth, that are going to tell you the truth, that are going to only try to guide you in truth. But the most important thing, you got to have God. You got to be leaning and depending on God to
Yes.
lead you, to guide you, and to
Yes.
direct you. So that's the wisdom I would leave.
Well, thank you. You used my scripture. That's my guiding principle, Proverbs 3 and 6. That's
Hmm.
mine too. Well, 5 and 6 I had for years, but that's 6. Every
Yes.
decision, I'm looking for
Every
him to guide
decision.
me.
Yes.
I appreciate that. So, Kevette, what would you like to leave with the audience? Make sure you provide them with the method to stay in touch with you,
Yes,
a
ma'am.
way to follow you regarding your
Hmm.
new release. People are probably getting excited about it and can't wait to hear it. So,
Yes.
why don't you tell the audience how they can stay connected?
Sure. I am on social media on Facebook. I am Kevette Burwell. On Instagram, I am Kiki67. Or if you look up um, um, Kevette Burwell, you should be able to find me as well. I would also, say that um, the title of my project is Two Sides, One Story. And it is coming out soon. It should be out really soon. But the single that should be out even sooner than that is I Will Trust You. And that is my testimony. It is a song that I wrote in my grief of losing my husband and my son. I still trust God. I still believe God. I still understand that God is sovereign. He can do whatever he wants to do whenever he wants to do it. Life and death is his business and not mine. And so there I have to know, and my faith has to activate in, oh, you say you believe me, you got to trust me. And
Hmm.
so I trust God. And so my single is I Will Trust You. And it is really based on me trusting God in that moment. Because my husband passed in 2019 and my son passed almost exactly a year later.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I had to lean and depend on my faith in God
Absolutely.
and trust Him that He had my back, whatever was
Yeah.
coming, that He has me. And trust Him today.
Oh,
I'm never, ever going to leave Him, and I'm never going to not trust Him. I just believe He, as I mentioned, He has my best interest at heart. He
that's
sees the
right.
bigger picture that I can't see. And he can do whatever he wants to do. I'm never leaving him. Just like he said, he would never leave me nor forsake me. I'm holding on as hard and as fast and
Absolutely.
tight as I can to him.
You're doing a Jacob. I'm not letting go till you bless me.
Not letting go.
That's awesome. So how can they stay connected? Is there a method? You
um,
said Instagram was one, Facebook.
Instagram and Facebook. Those are right now, those are the only things I
Okay.
have. I am in the process of developing a website so that you will be able
Hmm.
to get my products on the website as well.
Awesome.
But
Awesome.
I will absolutely put out every piece of information that I can on social media um,
Okay.
about the project and when it will actually be released. Um, but yeah, those two methods.
It's been a pleasure talking with you today. I
It's a
loved
pleasure talking to
your
you as well.
story and those responses you gave. Those were gold nuggets. I mean, people are going
God
to
bless.
take that and I'm telling you, if they follow what you provided them, they're going to be okay. So
You.
I really appreciate you being a woman of faith and how God has gotten you through the things you've gone through. It's been a
Yes.
pleasure having you on the show today.
Thank you. It was my pleasure to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me.
It's been wonderful, Kevette. So everybody, thank you so much for tuning in to another episode. Stay tuned for another episode that will be airing on Saturday at 12 on the West Coast, 3 p.m. on the East Coast. Thank you.